Hello and welcome to the Choral Society of Pensacola's sneak peek series of our 89th season. This is episode 3 about our upcoming performance of the Suffrage Cantata in a concert titled Still Rising. The concert will be performed on Friday, March 28th at 7:30 p.m. and Saturday, March 29th at 2 p.m. Both performances are in the UWF Center for Fine and Performing Arts Main Stage Theater. We're excited to return to this location for this incredible and educational concert. We'll be joined by the University of Alabama's Capstone String Quartet. They're coming all the way down from Tuscaloosa, joining us on Thursday of that week for our dress rehearsals, and then they'll be highlighted in the performance as the core orchestral accompaniment of the Suffrage Cantata. We'll also be joined by 3 outstanding narrators/actors, Marci Duncan, Rachel Gibson, and Sara Schoch, all coming from the theater faculty of the University of West Florida. To set the mood for the Suffrage Cantata, which will be the keystone piece of the evening, we'll have a few pieces as prelude, or think of it as an on-ramp to prepare the audience. The first being Homeland, which is set to a tune by Gustav Holst and is highlighted in The Planets. If you attended the Pensacola Symphony Orchestra's recent performance of The Planets, you'll recognize this one. Here's the famous theme. Now, you'll be interested to know there are words which date back to the early 20th century, the very decade when Woodrow Wilson was President of the United States. We'll be singing about him later in the evening. Then we'll sing a Canadian folk song called Old Grandma, which pays homage to the women of the plains who kept food on the table and kept the households running. The tenors and basses of the Choral Society of Pensacola will then sing Half the World, a piece by Dale Trumbore, but the text is by Frederick Douglass. This is the speech that he gave to the International Council of Women in 1888. We actually sing about that later in the Suffrage Cantata. The next 3 pieces that serve the rest of the on-ramp are Resilience by Abby Bettinas, kind of a street song, a call to arms of people in facing resistance. Then the tenors and basses of the University of West Florida's UWF Singers. Our guests, they're appearing as a cameo on this concert with When the Time Comes, which is a poem by the late Ruth Bader Ginsburg. And then finally, the whole group will get together and sing I Am Possibility, which is an inspiring text. I am hope unlimited. We'll then move to the keystone work of the evening with the Suffrage Cantata, music by Andrea Ramsey. However, the text is prose from letters, speeches, banners, journals by Sojourner Truth, Susan B. Anthony, Ida B. Wells, Mabel Ping-Hua Lee, Inez Milholland, Alice Paul, Mary Church Terrell, and Carrie Chapman Catt, among many others. It's quite a history lesson. Let's listen to Andrea Ramsey, the composer of this work, on her thoughts about the composition.
I was inspired to write the Suffrage Cantata by a couple of driving forces. One was that we needed more extended works for treble choruses, so I knew I wanted to write a longer work for treble choruses to sing. The second piece of it was that I knew I wanted to know more about women's history, and that this might be a great opportunity to have women singing about a history that often is erased from our textbooks and that we don't know as much about as we should. There were many suffragists who inspired me. I can think of a handful that really come to mind. Frances Ellen Watkins Harper, whose writing was so rich in imagery, but she could also just really cut to the core of issues. Alice Paul and Lucy Burns inspired me, along with the other imprisoned suffragists, just the links that they went to fight for this cause. But probably the woman who stays in my mind the most is Ida B. Wells Barnett, who spoke truth to power her whole life and who wasn't afraid to step into her rightful place when she knew she belonged there.
So let's listen to a couple excerpts from the cantata. The first is the sung words of Ida B. Wells. And this performance is by one of the premiering ensembles of the work.
A woman's place is the ballot box, and we're marching steady to it. And when the people try to tell us we belong in the House, we say yes, the House and the Senate. 8,000 women marching to take a stand for the right to vote afforded every other man. A woman needs a ballot far more than a petticoat. Standing tall, we are marching steady for the right to vote.
And this second excerpt is from the beginning of the Suffrage cantata, which explains the impetus for the movement. This is by the University of West Florida's concert choir, who will be also appearing in our concert later. So you'll see there are narrators throughout the piece, and that's what our three friends from the University of West Florida Theatre Department, Professors Sara Schoch, Marci Duncan, and Rachel Gibson, will help with to make the piece more accessible. And not only do we have the narrator actors, but we'll also have soloists throughout the evening, immersive projections, and a fantastic lighting design. The music that you'll hear is classical art song, patriotic, street song, gospel, folk songs, and there's even 2 moments in the evening of sing-along with the audience. I don't want to give too many of our secrets away because this is likely the first time anyone in this audience is hearing the work. So we hope you'll join us Friday, March 28th, 7:30 p.m. and Saturday, March 29th, 2 p.m. at the University of West Florida's Center for Fine and Performing Arts. Tickets are still available through our Purple Pass at choralsocietyofpensacola.org. We'll see you there.